Hello guys, welcome to my channel Programming Forecast. So before we continue, I want to make one adjustment to the roadmap. Let me tell you something that I'm not following the lesson sequence I had shown you before. Definitely I will cover all the topics, but as this journey is going, whenever I am feeling like I should go for this topic after this, and it will also help you understand this topic easily. So I am making the changes accordingly actually. So as I said you in my previous video that in this video I will make some middleware for you, and I will help you to create some middlewares. And I have decided before I had decided that I will go for production middleware in this tutorial like Helmet, CORS, Morgan. But after thinking about it from a teaching perspective, I think there is a better sequence. You have just learned what middleware is. So before introducing the third-party middleware like Helmet or CORS, students should first learn how Express routing works, because routes and the middleware are tightly connected. So the smoother progression will be, progression will be to discuss about Express routing deep dive in this regard today. So, okay, let's not further delay, let's get started. So by the end of this lesson today, you will understand what routing is, how Express matches routes, difference between app.use and app.get, difference between app and router, then route parameters, then the query parameters, then organizing routes professionally, and finally route execution flow. So the first and foremost question is, what is routing? Basically, a route is a rule that tells Express that if a request arrives with HTTP method, which any kind of HTTP method, and a URL with it, execute this handler. The example can be, okay, let me show you. So the example can be a GET request like this. As you can see, this registers one route, but it does not send a request. It simply tells Express what to do if a matching route arrives. So we have HTTP method get, and the URL is /users. So this is basically to get all the users of our application. So the second thing is route matching. Suppose the client sends a request like get/user. This. So Express checks if I have these routes in my application. If I have any registered route like this, Express compares the HTTP method get and the URL path. Here the URL path is /users. So only if both match does Express execute the handler. Now let me tell you detail about HTTP methods. So Express supports many HTTP methods like get, post, put, patch, delete, and in a beginner level project we may use those HTTP methods like that: app.get, app.post, app.put. So each represents a different action, like get reads the data, post creates the data, then put replace source, but replace a data, and then patch update part of a data, and finally delete is to delete the data. So there is a slight difference between put and patch. Put is to replace all the data, to replace the whole data, and to patch is to update a part of a data. So for our authentication project, we may need these APIs. To register, we may need post API. For login, post login. For refresh token, we may need post refresh token. And to log out, we may need logout. And to get the user profile or get the information about the user, we may need get profile, and patches to update any information in our user's profile. Now, app versus router. As I said, that in small projects we use app.get. Most beginners put everything, every route inside app.js file. As you know that we have app.js file inside our project. So many beginners do these kind of things. Let me show you. and they put all the codes, all these codes inside app.js. As you can see, there are three routes: app.post for registration, app.post for login, and app.get profile for to get the data of the profile, user's profile. So this works for small projects, but imagine 100 routes and your app.js becomes huge. So professional projects use routes. So the project structure for the professional projects can be like that. There is a source folder in our project, so under that we should have a routes folder, and under that we will have some different route files. Each router manages a specific feature. Like in our auth.router route file, we will write all the register, login, I mean auth related routes. In our user.routes file, I will write everything that is related to the user. In our admin.route, I will write every URL that is related to admin, every route that is related to admin. So each router manages a specific feature. Now comes to create a router. So let me show you the code first, and then I will make you understand everything. So this is our code. Here we are importing route from Express, importing router. As you can see, there is a object of router. We are creating an object of router inside the variable, constant router, and then we are declaring our routes like router.post, router.post. This is for registration, this is for login, and this is our controller. So notice we use router here instead of Express. Why? Because a router is a mini Express application dedicated to handling related routes. So whenever we are doing that, we have to mount this router inside our app.js file. So inside your app.js file, you have to put this code to mount this router. We are importing our auth. As I said, for different routers, we will have different files. We will have different files. So for auth routers, I am importing the router, then I am mounting it here. To mount, we will use this app.use method, and inside that there I am giving the URL and then the auth routes. So now Express creates this mapping like if I get any kind of request that starts with API/auth, then it will check for the registered router of auth routes. It will go in the auth routes file, JavaScript file. Now the inside the router, you will get the complete inside our auth routes. We may have this kind of route declared. So the final endpoint would be this: post API auth, then register. As we can see, this is a post method, and API auth is the initial URL here, and the other half is here. So this is our complete routes path is append to the base path. Now request flow with router. Let me show you the flowchart. Okay. Now this separations keeps project organized. As you can see, from client we are getting this URL, this HTTP method with this URL, and it is coming to Express and matching the URL in our app.js API auth, and then by according to it, we are getting the file auth.routes, and inside that file it is again matching the other half of the URL, and then it is going to the controller, expected controller. So this separation keeps project organized. Now what is route parameters? Route or root parameters. Suppose we want to fetch a specific user. Suppose the code can be like that. We want to fetch a specific user by ID. This ID is keeping every user's unique. So if the client's requests for any data regarding a specific user, like this, get user 42. Now Express extracts the request parameter from this URL. This is our request parameter. So Express extracts the parameter from our request with the help of this method req.params. So it gives us the result like that, ID 42. So route parameters are part of the URL path. As you can see, we have in our URL ID 42. Now comes the query parameters. Suppose we want pagination in our app, like that. The URL from the client side would be like that. Page 2 limit 20 means per page we will have 20 data and there will be 2 pages. So inside the Express we have something called query. So whenever we are calling request.query, it will extract these 2 query parameters, page 2 and limit 20. So the result of request.query would be like that, page 2 limit 20. Unlike route parameters, query parameters comes after the question mark. As you can see, there is a question mark before these 2 query parameters, but in route parameters we don't have any kind of question mark. So this is the difference. Now route parameters versus query parameters. So as I said that in route parameters there is no question mark, but in query parameters you will get to know how that this is query parameters by seeing this question mark. Okay, now a good rule of thumb is route parameters is identify a specific resource and query parameters modify how resources are returned. It actually sorting, sometimes filtering, sometimes pagination. Okay, now let's understand app.use. Many beginners think that app.use creates a route, but not exactly. It registers a middleware. As we have shown you before, that whenever we need to register any middleware, we will write app.use in our app.js file. So it is actually for registering any middleware. Example can be whenever we want to register express.json middleware, we use this. Okay, so this runs for every matching request. Another example can be to mounting our router. This. So here app.use mounts a router, so which is itself a middleware. So basically a request is coming to app.js, then the router handler. Now route orders matters. Suppose we write this. Now the request, now here comes a request like get/profile from our client. Okay, so it matches. The /profile route is never reached. So the correct order is, as you can see, that it is asking for the profile. Okay, so now, so it is as you can see from client side, it is asking for get/profile, and if our order is like that, the first one is /id, it is a request parameter, but the Express thought that the value of id is profile, so it matches this URL and it never came to this URL. So the profile route is never reached. I mean, this route is never reached. So the correct order should be, we should write this one before, and then after this we should write this one. The correct order should be this. Then whenever a client hits this API, it will match it first and then it will execute this controller. But if you write in this manner, then the Express will understand that the value of the ID is here, this profile keyword. So Express evaluates route from top to bottom, so the order matters. Now production route structure. By the time we build authentication, our project will look like this. Let me show you the project structure. So there will be a source folder, then under that there is a routes folder, and there are different route files, and then this kind of folders, controller service, which we already made before. So each feature has a clear responsibility. Now registration and request flow. So here is a registration request will eventually travel. Let me show you the flowchart for you. Okay, so this is the flowchart. Notice that the route is the bridge between middleware and controllers. As you can see from Flutter app, we are getting this request, and in Express it is calling auth.route because we have auth API/auth, and it is choosing this route file. And as you can see that the bridge between, and then it is coming to the middleware and then controller. So from Express to the controller, from Express to the middleware, it is passing through routes. Okay, now your homework is create a new route called auth.route.js under your route folder, and then add two routes that can be router.post for the register and router.post for login. Now, and then mount it in app.js file using app.use. Then verify the URLs, these URLs exist. Post a verified that these URLs exist. Post /API/auth/register and post /API/auth/login. Okay. So let me share some interview questions with you. There can be a question like what is routing in Express? What does Express match? How does Express match a route? And what is the difference between app and router? And what is the difference between app.use and app.get? Then what is the difference between route parameters or route parameters and query parameters? And why do production applications split routes into multiple files? And lastly, why does route order matters? So what is coming next? Next, in our next tutorial, we will configure the middleware used by almost every production Express application, like the middlewares like Helmet, CORS, Morgan, Cookie Parser, request size limits, centralized middleware resignation. So this will prepare the application for the authentication features we will build afterwards. Thank you everyone. Subscribe to my channel and share the video.